Hello and welcome to the next video of my rookie recap for 2024. We're going over bot laners and AD carries. These players either utilize their rookie status this year or still have it yet to be used in the future. I do believe if I look at maybe, actually, I think only Samver. Samver is probably the only one that doesn't actually lose rookie status after this season that's on the board. Zhao Yuji played for EDG or IG. I think he played for IG in spring and for like 3 or 4 games, and he's been in and out of the lineup for a couple of years. He's still a rookie as well. But everybody else played at least a half a split for the first time in their careers. Many different players on the board and some interesting ones, to say the very least. We actually have two players that went to World. Well, actually, yeah, two players that went to Worlds. Meech was replaced by Tomo, and 100 Thieves went to Worlds. However, I will say I thought 100 Thieves could have went to Worlds with Meech. I don't think Tomo was that much of a difference maker. And unlike the mid lane situation, we have a couple players on this board that actually had positive win rates for their team. So that's interesting as well. So first, let's go over who they are. Masu from FlyQuest, Supa from Mad Lions Koi, Shaoli from LGD, Leaper from the Kwangdong Freaks, Bull from the Kwangdong Freaks, Starry of OMG, Meech of 100 Thieves, The Snake of EDG, Stay of Team Wii, Rahel of SK, and Samver of Brion. So in terms of age, the younger ones on the board, Masu and Starry, 19 years old, Leaper, 24, someone's 23, right? Oh yeah, Supa, 23 years old for the majority of the season. But Leaper is an interesting case because you see next to his name a blank spot. I don't know where CV Max found him. I'm going to assume from solo queue and just threw him right in the lineup because he has no prior experience on Game of Legends in CK, in Challenger. So that is an interesting situation. Maybe he played on their Academy Tier 3 team, but the fact of the matter is somehow, some way, he leapfrogged Taeyun and Bull to get the starting role in summer. Bull was the starter in spring. So that's interesting. Some other noticeable experience things here. Supa had 270 games of experience in professional play based on GOL.GG before even playing this year. So, a very experienced player. Bull, 219. The Snake, 152, but also had 55 games of PCS LMS experience before ever playing in the LPL, which is interesting. Not many probably know that. Stay, 191 games. Rahel, 294. Of course, that D plus Kia, Dom 1 Kia roster of the last couple of years where they've had like excellent prospects finally being dispersed out. And Rahel played a shit ton of games in that time period. Samver, though, similar to Leaper, not many games in Challengers. Only 16 games over his career in Challengers prior to this season, and even including this season probably, if I actually look at it closer. But actually had more TCL games. He had 18 TCL games in 2022, which I'm sure surprises many people. That, it's once in a while you'll have this where a Korean import will have, a Korean player that's playing the LCK actually got their start elsewhere. I think of a player like Rascal, who actually started his career in Japan. Duckdom, I believe, started his career in Latin America or Turkey. No, Sword might have started his career in Turkey. And you may say, oh, well, that player sucked, this, that, and the third. It's just weird that, there are situations where we have players that actually went to Worlds for LCK teams that actually started their career in minor regions and didn't actually make their debut in the LCK. And in the case of Samver, that is also the case. Now, will he... Brion, I don't expect to go to Worlds anytime soon with current management, but nevertheless, he split time with Envy, I guess. Now, next to games played, I put in green and, you probably can't read it, but it's the amount of Senna games that player played. Senna is a champion that just ruins stats. It makes bot lane stats impossible. So just keep that in mind. Supa played 10 and 85, Masu 8 and 88, Shaoli 3 and 64, Leaper only played 1. Bull played 3, Meech played quite a bit because he only played in spring and some of summer. 6 out of 37. The Snake, 6 of 31. So those stats are a little more skewed. KDA wise, Masu dominant 3.7, Rahel 3.3. Very good players, positive win rates for their team, 2 of the 3. And then the third actually being Stay of Team We had a positive win rate, but they end up going back to another player in Abel, and didn't keep Stay in the starting lineup, which is weird. Shawi 2.1, Leaper similar, lower end of things. I mean, Samver had the worst 1.8, but I mean, no one's surprised. That team is definitely the worst one on the board. Going into this year, I thought Starry had a lot of potential as a player that deserved an opportunity in the LPL. So to see him play for OMG was nice because I thought he was solid. Kill participation, he was one of the higher ones. The Snake also above 70%, as well as Supa. Lower end, I mean, Rahel 63.4 with SK Gaming. All of a sudden leaving Korea to go play in Europe in summer season in a 9-game season, and then, playing playoffs and season finals. He got 19 games under his belt. And he looked the part. He looked like a player that deserved to be in a major region like many had expected for years, being stuck on that, roster with Thanatos and Lucid and Polbay, as well as who was the sport. Oh, Bible, but Bible's, a lot of people like Bible, but that I think has a lot to do with how much people dislike Kellen. CS per minute, like I said, this stat's pretty scuffed. Starry 9.6, Leaper 9.6, but that's because they barely played any Senna. Rahel didn't play any at all, the only one on the board, and he had a 10.4 CS per minute. I mean, that's going to happen when you don't play Senna. But lower end of things, I mean, Meech 7.5, the Snake 7.8, and that's because of once out of every 6 games being a Senna game. Return on investment, damage divided by gold. That's a big stat for 80 carries, right? Who's dealing damage? That's your job. Attack, damage, carry. Or APC, attack, ability, power, carry. Same difference. Still deals damage. ROI, though, 1.72 for Meech. Yeah, the guy that got benched on the board out of 100 Thieves has the highest ROI, which is interesting, isn't it? 1.63 for Supa, which is much lower than we would have expected. His Worlds run in the main event was hot garbage, but that is what it is. 1.43 for Shawi. I think Shawi deserves a lot more credit than he's gotten this year. Playing with LGD actually had a 48% win rate, which is better than... No, actually 42. My mistake. Leaper had a 48% win rate, which is actually better than Supa, which is kind of weird, right? You think of Supa and how the Mad Lions went to Worlds, but actually the Guangdong Freaks won more games percentage-wise than Mad Lions Koi did this year. So that's interesting. Lower end, Bull 1.34. I mean, 3 Senna games out of 42. I think he also may have played a Scion game in there. Bull was very much on the team due to shot calling. Many people singing his praise at the beginning of the year, but as the season went along, he kind of left a lot to be desired. And honestly, Leaper, statistically, didn't do all that much worse. Vision-wise, I mean, he was the best on the board, along with Supa, around 3.2, 3.3. Keep in mind, Ash is going to definitely affect that stat. Gold difference at 15 minutes. Supa, very good, 268. He and Alvaro, very aggressive in lane, that's without a doubt. Even Rahel was technically behind in gold in the LEC, 137. XP difference, Samver actually had 87 per game, which is pretty shocking, and only 173 behind in gold. I think Samver has a future in the LCK if given an opportunity. But, Brian was a tire fire, and he was alongside Palu, and we'll talk about Palu more tomorrow. But nevertheless... pretty solid numbers. I mean, he and Rahel going pretty even in their respective regions, and going even in the LCK is more impressive than the LEC. Meech and Isla getting blown out, that was definitely the case. I think this stat might be fried, though. They were behind, but I don't think they were behind by that much. I think I made a mistake statistically. Bull and Leaper, though, behind by quite a bit. Those might be scuffed as well, but I know they are behind. Supa ahead. Let's see here. Leaper stats I think are real. Did KDF make the playoffs? Shoot. Trying to think. They made the playoffs in summer. I think they did. Solo kills per game, Rahel 0.2. So 1 out of every 5 games. He had 419, which is pretty nice. Supa 0.15, pretty aggressive player. Win rate wise, Masu, Stay, and Rahel plus 50-50. And in my opinion, Stay deserves to be a starter this year with Team Wii. Rahel should certainly be a starter with SK or in the LCK. Definitely worthy of that. Meech should never have been benched, but I don't know if he's going to get a spot now with the region, constricting. You know, a lot of people saying Tomo should be starting more so than Meech, but it's funny because, like, don't get me wrong, Tomo played okay with Dignitas, but it's like we've seen Tomo quite a bit more than Meech, so, you know, one split, is that really going to erase like 4 previous splits? I think that's kind of interesting to, you know, do. Not to, like, development's important, and I sing development's praises and say players do need opportunities. That's why we have experience on the board now to try and give us a better picture of how these players get to the top level. But at the same time, we also have to take into account that, hey, this player also needs to develop who might have a brighter future and has already performed better than the other player did at their age, which I think is something many people don't like to discuss. It makes them uncomfortable because it usually means that they don't have an argument against it, not a really good argument against it, and it's a tough situation. Leaper, I mean, what a bold move. What a leap of faith by CV Max for Leaper. Starry should start with OMG. Shawi should start for LGD. Supa, definitely, and Masu as well. I mean, there are quite a few good players on this board that, you know, I expect to see next year at a high level of play. You know, better than that mid lane list yesterday was rough in my opinion. You know, it was a situation where it's like, yeah, Jackie's, I guess, is the best on the board. It's just like one of those things where nobody I'm super confident in. Like I said, a lot of people really high on Jackie's and Vladi, but I also want to see them playing more than one meta before I make those assumptions. But these guys, I mean, really exceeded throughout the year in a Senna meta, and then towards the end of the season for some of them, and at the you know, main event at Worlds. I mean, FlyQuest and Masu, the way he performed at a high level. You know, many people disappointed and upset that I had him ranked below Noah going into the event, but that's off of MSI as well, and I don't think anybody would disagree with how poorly FlyQuest and Masu played at MSI. So ranking them relative to others, that kind of is the deal there. But, you know, as the seasons went along, Masu improved, as a rookie does, and at 19 years old was very strong at the event. That's undeniable. He's played very well against Gen G in that best of 5. You know, he's kind of taken on. I mean, JoJo's out, and I guess Masu's the guy now. It's his region at this point. So that's a thing. Masu definitely. You know, it's funny though. I do wonder how much of Worlds is affecting people's opinions because Supa probably had it before that, but you know, Worlds is what's giving Masu all those, you know, some of those praises that I think others were giving Supa for the majority of the season. Shawi, I mean, LGD struggling, but in summer looked very good alongside Meteor in the jungle with Haicho in mid. So that's a thing too. I think Shawi deserves more credit. Bull, you know, is a thing, but you know, most of these players I would like to see next year. I doubt I see the Snake though. I mean, Samver, who knows? He might be one of those players you see in minor regions for God knows how long. But the others I expect to see. Bull, maybe not. I don't know. It's an interesting crop of players. I think, I mean, one of the better roles we saw rookie class-wise this year. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.